Former Governor Rick Perry, thank you so much. Welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Jack, it is a pleasure to be speaking with you, and I miss seeing you.
Well, thank you so much. And so I want to ask you about the Texas speaker's race. And you helped Speaker Phelan win a very nasty, hard-fought primary and primary runoff. And now you're helping him in the race for speaker. Why does he need your help? And what are you doing to help him?
Well, let me give you a little background in history. I've known the Phelan family for 35 years. Knew his uncle, knew his father, knew him as a young man, and watched him grow up, and was certainly excited to see him get into the Texas legislature and then to become the speaker. I think his intellect, his capabilities, his fairness are all the characteristics and attributes that I would like to see were I a member of the legislature, which I was at one time. So all of that made it easy for me to help him. Last session, inarguably, was one of the most conservative sessions in Texas history from the standpoint of the legislation that was passed, the tax cuts that were given, the issues that they dealt with. Um, and listen, I get politics. I understand why there are folks that want their person in, and I think that's what's going on here in the speaker's race. There's a group of folks that want their person in, that they control, that they pick up the phone and say, "Here's what I want done." And I don't have a problem with that. But I went out to Beaumont and that surrounding area and helped him in his campaign. He was successful in a very hard fought election. Um, Mike Toomey, who was my chief of staff and my mentor, actually, as a member of the legislature, has agreed to be Dade's chief of staff. I think Mike Toomey is one of the smartest, most capable, and conservative. They didn't call him Mike the Knife for nothing. He's a very conservative budget hawk, a person who will bring some extraordinary, uh, not only history, experience, and philosophy to the speaker's office. Mike asked me if I would help as they went into the session, help them with issues, help them focus on the things that are going to be important. The members will take care of themselves when it comes to the speaker's race. I know there are a lot of folks that try to put their thumb on the scale, I should say. I'm just going to talk to members about, how to manage the session for the best interest of Texas. I think you'll see some substantial legislation passed. School choice, I will suggest to you, will pass this session of the legislature. That's been kind of one of the sticking points for the opposition to Speaker Phelan. But I think the votes are there. I'm certainly for it. I've been a proponent of school choice and the competition between private schools and charter schools and all of these different types of programs for our children. We ought to give them every option that's out there, appropriately funded, and then watch our children perform at the high levels that they can. So exciting session of the legislature coming up. There's going to be things for small modular nuclear reactors, for our AI data centers, for desalination. We're going to need more power. Last session, they passed a very sweeping incentive program for these are for peaker plants. These are natural gas driven peaker plants. Right. This time, I think you'll see them doing it on small modular reactors. We're going to do some things for veterans' mental health, which is actually mental health writ large, if you will. I think former Speaker Craddock is going to have a very large piece of legislation dealing with mental health for the general population. So just a lot of good, progressive, conservative issues that are going to be in front of the legislature. And I'm glad that I'm still got a little fire in my belly and still some experience that I can share with these members of the legislature. I'm excited to work with them to make for a better Texas.
So if I hear you correctly, Governor, you are not really helping the speaker as it relates to retaining the gavel. You're more going to be helping during the session?
Well, he's going to be the speaker. And, I think it's rather interesting that we're even having a conversation about whether Dade Phelan is going to be the speaker. I can count. There are, he's got 76 votes. Would he rather have the vast majority of the people who are Republicans out voting for him? Yes. But when you look at the choices, Dade Phelan is going to be the speaker. He's got the votes already. So um, I guess just for fun, people want to talk about, well, how about this person or how about that person, or we're going to go into the caucus and pick somebody else. No, I can count. Dade has the votes to be elected speaker. So any conversations that are out there about who's going to be the speaker, I guess it's an interesting exercise. But Dade Phelan's got the votes.
Well, why are you so confident? I know you said you can count, but I mean, because on December 7th, as you know, the House GOP caucus is going to be meeting. And I know the magic number on January 14th, the first day of the session, is 76. That's when the final vote will take place. But there are going to be 88 Republican House members, right? So he doesn't need any. I mean, technically, you shouldn't have to need any Democrats, right?
And I think that is the fallacy of that statement that you just made, Jack, with all due
Okay.
respect. You do need Democrats. The idea that you're going to just say, hey, we don't need your help. Thank you. We're going to go do this ourselves. Number one, that's not the Texan way to do things. That's the Washington way to do things. And we don't want to end up like Washington, D.C., where everybody's got their little badge that they wear. I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat, and we're not ever going to work with each other. Matter of fact, we're going to be at war with each other. I started in 1985 as a member of the Democrat Party. I switched in the late 80s when Ronald Reagan made it okay for people who shared his philosophy to come over to the Republican Party. And as I humorously say, I made both political parties very happy when I became a Republican. And we've seen the state of Texas now become a very red state, particularly after this last election. So having all of that, it's important for us to work with our colleagues across the aisle. I think back to 2013, my last session as the governor, and Sinfronia Thompson, who's about as different from me as you can get, African American female from inner city Houston, lawyer. Uh, she and I worked on issues together. Now, I didn't change my philosophy. I didn't vote for a bunch of liberal stuff that Sinfronia was for, but we found issues that we did agree on, like child sexual trafficking and strengthening those laws, strengthening those punishments against people who would sexually traffic children. Uh, that's my point here, is that anyone who stands up and says, vote for me for speaker, I'm not going to have a Democrat as a chairman, I think is incredibly short-sighted. Because at some point in time, you're going to need those individuals. Let's say a constitutional amendment, which requires 100 votes. 88 is not 100. So the idea that you're going to sit there and shun the Democratic Party for political purposes to make some group happy that you're more pure than anybody else is incredibly short-sighted and not good for Texas. So my message to every member of the legislature is, look, Dade Phelan's going to get elected speaker because there are probably 30 at least that would walk over broken glass for Dade. And 40 plus Democrats join them, and you got 76. So I can count. Dade's going to be the speaker. And we just need to kind of get over this purity test that seems to be playing out there in some areas of the Republican Party, that we're not going to have any conversation with Democrats. We're going to shun them. We're going to put them in a little closet back at the back. And, they can come out for ceremonial purposes, but their votes don't matter. That is short-sighted. That is not good for Texas. And the good news is it's not going to happen.
Do you see a scenario based on what you just said in which Speaker Phelan has more Democrats supporting him than Republicans to retain the gavel? And why do you think that is? And what does that
Well, I
say?
don't.
That's
I don't
true.
think that'll be the case, Jack. I
Okay.
think that he will have um, the majority of the Republicans in the caucus voting for him when they have the public vote on the House floor in that second week of January, third week of January, when they come back into session, and he'll be elected Speaker. So I know it's fun to play what if, but I'm quite comfortable that the members of the legislature, let's say I'm a freshman member of the legislature, and it's going to be my first speaker vote. And there are people out there saying, if you vote for a Democrat, we're going to run somebody against you, and there's going to be, hell to pay. Well, there are plenty of people in the state of Texas with extraordinary resources that will support those individuals who vote for Dade Phelan. I'm not I'm not concerned at all that somehow or another there's this small cabal of individuals who say, if you vote for the Democrat, or if you allow for a Democrat to have a chairmanship, we're going to shun you, and you're going to get primaried. Don't worry about having a primary. There are plenty of people in the state of Texas that will be there to support you because we do share your vision of the state of working together, making for a better Texas. So all of the all of the chest thumping and the threatening that's probably going on, I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that's probably happening in some areas. Um,
What
Represent your district. Do what's best
what
for your district. Don't worry about what somebody outside of your district is trying to force you to do.
what do you make of the fact that the Texas GOP and also just members of the Texas Republican grassroots are very much favoring not having Democratic committee chairs?
I don't agree with them. And I think if they would spend some time actually learning how the Texas legislature works, how we get things done together, and I just disagree with them. So I'm not going to say they don't matter, but you know, there were times when the Republican Party didn't necessarily agree with what I wanted to do or what I did do, and when you spend all your time being partisan and not even trying to work with the other side, that tells me a lot about who you are and your vision for the state.
And let me ask you one last question on this topic, and then I'll ask you about some others. And that is, Speaker Phelan has had a very difficult relationship with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. And the Lieutenant Governors continue to be out there on social media very critical of Speaker Phelan. So if the Speaker does retain the gavel, how are how is anything going to get done between both houses? And do you worry about that?
I don't particularly worry about it. I understand politics, I understand choosing sides, but I also know Dan Patrick. And I truly believe he has the best interest of the state in mind. And once the contest is over with, we're going to go work together and try to find the solutions to the issues that are important to the state. Whether it's mental health, whether it's a energy policy, whether it's water policy, those, frankly, are not Republican or Democrat issues. Those are Texas issues. And once the elections get over with, I think everybody's going to settle in and go, okay, we got our work to do here. And you're the speaker, you're the lieutenant governor, you're the governor, and you all are senators and you all are House members. let's figure out how to work together. That's
And
what
so,
the vast majority of the people of the state of Texas expect. And I think that's what we'll get.
so we should expect to see you around the Capitol this next session?
To some degree, I'm obviously very interested in uh, veterans' mental health. You know that. There's going to be a major piece of legislation that, again, not Democrat, not Republican. It's dealing with the issue of ibogaine being used for mental health, for veterans' mental health in this case. Stanford just finished a clinical trial and stunning results. Just Cliff Notes version here, 88% of those veterans that were treated had zero symptoms of post-traumatic stress after 6 months.
Wow.
Just, I mean, yeah, wow is the proper term to use when you hear things like that. So hopefully we can really focus on how do you help these young men and women who have sacrificed so much for our country and who have this traumatic brain issue that's going on, whether it's from concussions or whether it's just the PTSD. There's addictions that are involved here, whether it's opioids that our governments have given them, and all of that can be treated with this compound that today is a Schedule 1 drug. And hopefully, over the course of the next few years, they can reschedule it, get clinical trials going, and we can see literally thousands, if not tens of thousands, of young men and women who are still alive that have not committed suicide. We're still losing 22 plus veterans a day, Jack, to suicide. And we
Wow.
truly owe them, their families, their loved ones, um, this solution that is there. It's been proven. And we need to get the federal government, which I'm so excited about, actually, all the people that are coming into the Trump administration that are going to be substantially supportive of our veterans, particularly veterans' mental health.
I wanted to ask you about that because there are three Texans plus Elon Musk. So you have Brooke Rollins, who's going to be the agriculture secretary. She's approved. You've got Scott Turner, former state rep, who's going to be HUD secretary if he's approved. And then you've got John Ratcliffe, a former United States attorney, former director of national intelligence during the first Trump administration, going to be the CIA director if he's confirmed. And then Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to be part of this Department of Government Efficiency, which is going to advise the White House on how to cut spending. And so I'm wondering, what do you make of those four names being part of the Trump administration?
Obviously, very excited. I totally approve of those choices. Brooke, I've known since she was 18 years old, when she was a state FFA officer. She was student body president at Texas A&M back in the mid 90s. I hired her to come to the governor's office in 2001 as the deputy general counsel, helped move her over to Texas Public Policy Foundation. She's just an incredible talent, and she'll do a fabulous job. Her family has been involved in FFA and through the 4-H programs and showing club calves. And so she totally gets the agriculture gig, and she will be a great Secretary of Agriculture. Scott Turner, just a wonderful heart. He and Ben Carson, Ben was HUD Secretary in the previous Trump administration, and Scott Turner, Ben Carson, two of the most lovely Christian hearts I've ever met in my life. Excited about him going in there. Obviously, Elon and Vivek are going to do some. We don't even know what good they're going to do long term for the country when it comes to reorganizing government. And then John Ratcliffe, I don't think there's a brighter legal mind and a deep intelligence knowledge. He is going to do great and good work. I'm incredibly excited. He could have been AG. He could have been head of the FBI. He could have been head of CIA. You know, he was DNI. for that latter part of our time. We've worked together on a number of issues. So really excited about those Texans that are going to the cabinet, and always excited to see an Aggie in the cabinet.
And my last question to you is, I'm going to ask you to put your former energy secretary hat on. And I was reading how President-elect Trump wants to restart the Keystone pipeline, which was canceled by President Biden when he came into office. A, is that possible? And B, what benefit would that have?
Yeah. Well, let me answer the second question first. Obviously, the Keystone Pipeline, anytime that you can bring North American um, petroleum products to market, I think that's a good thing. It's good for the world. Whether it's Texas LNG that's being shipped out of either Texas or Louisiana, Texas crude, American crude, North American uh, petroleum products is good for the world. So I hope that there is some interest in that. Obviously, the companies that were involved with that, they got burned quite deeply by the Biden administration by shutting down that pipeline. They had spent tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And there'll have to be some guarantees involved when you potentially change philosophically the presidency. Hopefully, that's not going to happen this time. And we have a Republican presidency and Republican Congress for some time into the future, which I think is possible. But still, these private sector companies who have seen government step in and cost them huge amounts of money, they're going to be in that what they're going to be in that status of let's just wait and see, let's talk. Are there some guarantees that you can give us that if we do go back into this process, that 4 years that you're not going to pull the football away from us and put us in a bad situation again?
All right, well, we will leave it there. Former U.S. Energy Secretary and former Texas Governor Rick Perry, thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jack, and beat the hell out of the Longhorns.
All right, you take care, Governor. Thank you so
All right,
much.
God bless you.